Have you ever finished a meal and felt more tired than before you ate? Not sleepy, not full, just foggy, like a light dimming inside your head. If that sounds familiar, your brain may be trying to tell you something. Because after 60, the food you eat every day doesn't just affect your body. It directly affects how clearly you think, how quickly you remember, and how much mental energy you have to live your life. The good news: 3 specific foods that most people already have access to can make a real difference. And in the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly what they are. Think of your brain as a power grid, not a building, not a machine, a living electrical network, sending signals, storing memories, making decisions, every single second of every day. Now imagine that power grid running on low voltage. The lights don't go out, but they flicker. Words take longer to come. Names disappear before you can speak them. Thoughts start and don't finish. That is what happens when the brain lacks the specific nutrients it needs to generate energy. And after 60, this becomes more critical, because the body becomes less efficient at extracting what it needs from food. What you eat isn't just fuel anymore. It's maintenance for the grid itself. The first food your brain depends on every day is protein. Not protein as a supplement. Not protein as a fitness goal. Protein as daily brain maintenance. Here's what most people don't realize. After 60, your body becomes significantly less efficient at processing the protein you eat. You need more of it, and you need it more consistently, just to maintain the same function. Research shows that protein provides the raw material for neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that carry memory signals from one part of the brain to another. Without enough protein, those messengers run slow, and slow messengers mean slower recall, slower thinking, and that frustrating feeling of having something on the tip of your tongue, but never quite reaching it. Now here's what this looks like in real life. A 71-year-old man once told me he had started forgetting names at family gatherings. Not strangers' names, family names. He laughed when he said it, but his eyes didn't. He thought it was age. His doctor thought it was age. But when he started adding a quality protein source to every main meal, eggs in the morning, fish at lunch, beans at dinner, within 8 weeks, he noticed the difference himself. The words started coming back faster. The names returned. He told me, "I didn't realize I had been running on empty." Practical adjustments starting today. Include a quality protein source in every main meal. Eggs, fish, Greek yogurt, lean meats, lentils or beans. Your brain is waiting for the signal. But protein alone cannot keep the grid running, because there is something quietly working against it every single day. And most people have no idea it's happening. The second factor isn't one single food. It's a category of foods, and their opposite. Chronic low-grade inflammation. Not the inflammation you feel as pain or swelling. The silent kind. The kind that runs in the background for years, without a single, obvious symptom. Research consistently shows that diets high in ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, and refined carbohydrates increase inflammatory markers in the body. And when those markers stay elevated over time, they quietly stress the brain's ability to function clearly. You may have felt this without naming it. After certain meals, a heavy lunch, a sugary snack, you feel mentally slower, less sharp. foggy in a way that doesn't quite make sense. That is not weakness. That is not imagination. That is your brain responding to inflammation. A 67-year-old woman once described it this way: "After lunch, my brain just goes offline. I can't follow a conversation properly. I thought I was just tired. No need." And so, she wasn't just tired. She was eating in a way that was quietly dimming her grid. When she started replacing one ultra-processed meal per day with foods that fight inflammation, leafy greens, olive oil, berries, dairy, fatty fish, nuts, the afternoon fog started lifting, not overnight, but steadily, week by week. Anti-inflammatory foods don't just protect the body. They protect the clarity of thought. That makes independence possible. One small shift per day is enough to start. You don't need a perfect diet. You need a direction, and that direction leads directly to the third food on this list, the one most people never even think about, because it works completely out of sight. There is a kind of forgetting that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive as confusion. It doesn't arrive as a dramatic moment. It arrives as distance. You sit at the dinner table with people you love and realize you haven't really been present for weeks. You read the same paragraph 3 times, not because the words are hard, but because something between the words and you has gone quiet. That quiet is not always aging. Sometimes, more often than people realize, that quiet has a name. Vitamin B12 deficiency, DROT, omega-3 depletion, low magnesium. After 60, the body's ability to absorb these nutrients declines naturally. Even with a normal, balanced diet, even when nothing seems wrong on the surface. Research confirms that B12 is essential for the protective coating around nerve fibers. Without enough of it, signals between brain cells slow down and sometimes stop. Omega-3 fatty acids are structural. They are literally part of the membrane of every brain cell. When they're depleted, the cell walls become less flexible. Communication between neurons becomes harder. And magnesium? It's involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in the body, including memory consolidation, including the regulation of stress signals in the brain. A woman once told me she felt like her memory was fading. She described it as a fog. She couldn't explain. She was eating well. She was sleeping reasonably. Nothing obvious was wrong. But a simple blood test revealed her B12 levels had been critically low for over a year. She said to me afterward, "I had been grieving my own mind, and I didn't even know why." After working with her doctor to restore those levels, the fog began to lift. Not completely, not immediately, but enough for her to recognize herself again. That is what these nutrients protect. Not just memory, not just energy, but the feeling of being present in your own life. Where to find them? Starting today. Vitamin B12. Eggs, fish, lean meats, dairy, liver, baro. Omega-3. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, walnuts, flax seeds. Magnesium. Leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, almond stoichii. And if you're unsure about your levels, a simple blood test with your doctor can tell you everything. Your brain is not failing. It may simply be under-resourced. Protein to carry the signals. Anti-inflammatory foods to protect the grid. B12, omega-3, and magnesium to keep the connections alive. 3 categories of food. 3 daily choices that either maintain your clarity or quietly erode it. You don't need a perfect diet. You need a consistent direction. one small shift at a time. Because the brain you protect today is the brain that protects your independence tomorrow. Now, before you go, I need to tell you something about the next video. Because there is something that affects brain health after 60. That has nothing to do with food, nothing to do with sleep, nothing to do with exercise. It works differently. It doesn't feel like a problem. It feels completely normal. In fact, most people over 60 would never describe it as a health issue at all. But research shows it quietly changes behavior before it ever changes the body. That is exactly what we're covering next. And if you're over 60, you'll want to see this one.